Okay. So thank you again for joining today. The purpose of this session is to go over how to easily is to copy an integrated D2L course with LaunchPad. And there's a couple of different scenarios where this would apply. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to navigate to LaunchPad because the reality is the majority of the course copying work actually occurs in LaunchPad, not in D2L. So this what we have here is a LaunchPad course that's already been set up for the first 4 chapters. I already have activities from LaunchPad in my D2L course with due dates. And if I click on the gradebook, all of these activities will automatically be reporting to the gradebook as well. And that's the basic nature of how our integrations work. You do deep deployment of individual activities. They sync with the gradebook, and students don't need to use an additional username or password. They just can simply access on any activity link in your D2L course and be taken directly to that activity. Now, to copy a LaunchPad course, that is also very easy. And the way that you would get there is by clicking on any LaunchPad activity to navigate to LaunchPad itself. So I can just simply click on this link right here. And in a brand new tab or window, LaunchPad automatically logs me in and takes me into, in this case, my summer section. Now, to copy the LaunchPad course, you need to do that in LaunchPad itself as opposed to the D2L site, which will always open up in a different tab from each other. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay. Now, to get to the page where you can copy your LaunchPad courses, you would just simply navigate to the black banner of LaunchPad, click on your name, and click on Switch Create Courses. On this page, we see the course that we have. Now, there's a couple of different scenarios where course copying would be beneficial, and you actually mentioned one that would work for your fall courses where you're teaching 2 different sections. So let's just say that this is a master course. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, let's talk about copying to the next semester. So this course is set up for summer. If I click into this course, you'll notice that all of my due dates are for summer term. I have activities due between May 22nd and June 15th. If we go back to the dashboard that we were in before, to copy to the next term, that's very easy to do. We would just click this button that says Create Course. We'll click the Next button. And then we're going to select Yes that we wish to copy a course. In this case, we'll pick our Summer 2016 course, and we'll click Next. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this to Fall 2016. And I'm just going to change this to the fall term as well, and then hit Create. Any questions about that?
No, that sounds fine.
It's fairly easy. Now the next step is to update the due dates. That's also very easy to do. When we click into the LaunchPad course for the Fall 2016, we enter our welcome screen. And again, these due dates are still set for summer, so they're due between May 22nd and June 15th. If we go to our instructor console on the left side of LaunchPad, it's pretty easily identifiable. I click onto this, and then we have this option here called Batch Due Updater. Let me just confirm those dates again. Okay. If I click on Batch Due Updater, I'm going to say any assignments due between May 22nd and we'll just say the end of June. Now I want to shift my start date to my fall term. So now I can just go through the calendar, and we'll just say my new start date is August 21st. And then we just click Update Due Dates. This could take a few minutes if you have a lot of content that you've assigned from LaunchPad, but it generally takes about 1 to 2 minutes to fully update your due dates with just a couple of clicks. So we'll just wait for it to finish, and then you'll see what it does on the next page. But basically what you try to do here is you take the exact start date of the first activity that you've assigned and the last due date as well. When you go back to your home page now by clicking on the home button up top, you'll notice that all of those due dates have changed. Any questions about that?
Brian, so I'm sorry, that was you go back to the first assignment date for summer and the last assignment date in summer to update your fall.
Yep, the first date of the semester where you assign something and then the last date where you assign something.
Okay.
And then
right.
when you do that in that batch due updater, it just completely updates those due dates. Now, I recognize that no semester is an exact copy of itself in terms of due dates. So this is just to get you in the right general area. So once you've done this, what you can now do is you go to a calendar option on the left side of LaunchPad. We'll just go to August, like so. Here's all of the activities. And now you can just simply drag and drop if you need to fine-tune your due dates. And this auto-saves. Any questions about that?
No, I see.
So let's say
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So let's say there's a holiday or something that didn't exist in the previous semester. You can take that into account by the simple drag and drop feature. But that batch due updater gets you in the general area, which is a really good thing. Now when we click home, all of our due dates have been updated. And
So
they reflect.
So it probably works better from semester to semester because then the due dates are spread out throughout the entire term, right?
Not necessarily, because this is just one way that you would do it. I'm sorry. When you say it works better from semester to semester, you just mean the course copy feature?
Well,
in general?
Well, the due date. I mean, the summer semester was only 5 weeks, and the regular semester is 15 weeks. So.
Okay. Now that's a good point, because that's another way that course copying is a good thing. So let's go back to our dashboard and talk about that scenario now. So let's say this summer 2016 course was a traditional course, spanning the whole semester. We'll actually say that, let's change this to spring.
Okay.
2016 and call it that. Now let's say you're teaching an 8-week class at the same time as a traditional class, or it's your summer class where that's a faster class. Again, you can click create, click next, copy the course again, like so. But now what we're going to call it is 8-week class. Like so.
Okay.
So when we go into this one, instead of using the batch due updater to completely shift our due dates, what we now need to do is to have another course in the same term, just with different due dates, assuming that you'd be assigning the exact same content. But even if that's not the case, that's okay too. Because if we go to our calendar, what we can do now is, let's say this is an accelerated class, and instead of these four chapters spanning the course of 4 weeks, they need to span 2 weeks. So what do? We can combine Chapter 2 activities with Chapter 1 and make them all due on the same day, and then make these 2 quizzes due on the same day. The other thing you could do is you could customize a quiz to combine both of these chapters and have 1 quiz if you wanted to.
Okay.
So in a very quick way, I have now made an accelerated class utilizing the exact same activities. Now, and maybe you're thinking maybe it's too much for a fast track course. Some activities have to go. That's also okay, because what you can do now is you can just click edit and you can click clear due date for this one activity. So we can just start unassigning content to make it more condensed. Any questions about that?
And where do they go then? Are they somewhere else?
When you remove them from the assigning capability, they're still in LaunchPad. You could always reassign the content. So I wasn't paying attention to what I unassigned. But anything that I had assigned is available in these windows right here. So let's say let's say this is one of the activities that was unassigned. I would just simply come back here now and assign it again.
Okay.
If I wanted to bring it back.
Okay. So it doesn't go away. It just goes back to the content area.
Exactly. There's nothing that you're removing permanently from LaunchPad. It's always just assigning, unassigning, or taking out of a main window and putting it back into the bank of content.
Right. Okay.
Does that answer your question about, about what you could do with like a faster course versus a course that's
Sure.
spread out over multiple months?
Yeah.
And now,
No, I see.
and now that you have this 8-week class, this can serve as a new master for every time you need to teach an accelerated class. You simply copy this one, and then you can batch up these due dates with the accelerated model.
Okay, so you could make like a fall 15-week, and you could make a winter 2-week, and you could make a summer 4-week, and then just copy those from year to year.
Exactly.
Okay.
And fine-tune as you go, start assign content, remove content, and just keep changing it to make it what you want it to be every time. But at least you have a starting point so you don't have to do all of that course building all over again.
Sure.
The other final scenario is if you're teaching multiple sections in the same format in a semester, which you actually mentioned that you are this fall.
Yes.
So for this case, we'll use the fall 2016 model. So we made this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to relabel this and call it Master Course Do Not Use. And the reason why is because this is going to serve as our master course. What we're now going to do is we're going to branch this as opposed to making an independent copy. So these 3 courses that we're looking at now are all independent of each other. If I make changes to this one, it doesn't affect this one, and same with this one.
Uh-huh.
If I use the branching feature, we can make individual sections like this, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 a.m.
Cool.
Then I can make another one, Tuesday, Thursday, 10 a.m., something like that.
Okay, so one question with that, if you want to change something in these courses, do you just change it to the master course and then the other ones reflect those changes?
Yes. So you would do all of your course building on the master, and you can use the master. Like, let's say you wanted to make a quiz, and you want that quiz to be available in both sections. You just do it on the master, and then it'll be added to both sections. So if I click into this section, for example, you'll see it has all of the exact same due dates as before.
So what if you have to change something mid-course for both sections?
Would it be a change that's different for one section versus the other, or would it be a change for both sections that would be exactly the same?
For both sections, exactly the same.
Anytime you want to do something that will apply to both sections, in this situation, you would do it on the master course.
And as soon as you would save it to the master course, it would be saved to the other 2 courses?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'll show you. So let's just take an activity. Keep in mind, I'm on the master course right now. If we go to the calendar, let's go to our fall section, and let's just say that this learning curve for 1A, we actually want this to be due on July 31st instead.
Mm-hmm.
So we made that change. If I go to any of those individual sections now, let's go to the Tuesday, Thursday section. My 31st due date. You see that right here?
Oh, yeah.
And if I go to the calendar, it'll be the same, July 31st.
Cool.
Now, that being said, let's say in one of your sections you need to make an independent change, such as this section. I can now take this activity and move it here to the 6th, keeping in mind that I am on the Tuesday, Thursday section. And you'll see now that due date changed. It's now an August 6th due date. Instead, if I go back... Go ahead.
It doesn't influence the master course then?
No. So it won't change the master course, and it also won't change the other section if you do it on the individual branch as opposed to the master. You see this other section still has that July 31st due date.
Sure. Okay.
But now, if I was to go back to the master, and go back to our calendar again. And if I took this learning curve 1A and move it back to the 21st, both of these sections now will change that due date.
Okay.
So it's a nice, when you know what you're doing and you're comfortable with it, it's a good thing because it overwrites the changes. But it's just a nice thing. Actually, it looks like it didn't do it for this one. I'm going to test that, so I apologize. But it's nice to know that you can overwrite your changes with just a couple of clicks on a master course, but you also have the freedom to make independent changes as well.
So, okay. Brian, again, any of the branch courses, you can edit changes. You can add or you can change dates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it doesn't have to impact the master.
Correct. So you use the master to get your framework set for your branches.
Right, okay.
And then from there, you can start making independent changes as needed.
Gotcha, okay.
Or you can completely keep it the same. It's very flexible in that sense. Now, in terms of student registration, this master course would never be used. That's why we wrote do not use. So the way your students will enroll in LaunchPad is you need to activate it. And we'll get into how that's done more in the D2L portion. But I'm just going to activate the branches. So these get the green light because these are actual courses that students would be registering in. Now, we're going to deactivate the spring because that course is no longer going. You'd still have your students in here, but you don't want students to accidentally enroll in that one. So we would close that one out. We would keep our fall sections open. And if this was an 8-week class, we could also open that one as well. Any questions about that?
No.
So now, our work with the copying of the LaunchPad content is done, as far as I'm concerned. The majority of this actually is done in LaunchPad. And now we can simply close this. We'll just log out of LaunchPad and go back to D2L. Now we copy our D2L course. So we didn't unassign anything. All of these links in LaunchPad are still the same activities that we were just working with. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our new course shell for the fall. So let's just say this one right here is our first section that we need to copy content into. The way we do that is we're just going to click on Content up here. And we're going to click on this button right here that says Import Course. We're going to select Copy an Existing Course. We don't recommend using any of these options down here for course copying. You only want to use the copy components from another org unit. We'll click Search for Offering, the course to copy, and we'll just start typing the name of the courses. This is the one I want to copy from. I'll hit Search. Here's the course. I'm just going to select it and click Add Selected right here. Any questions so far?
No, that's pretty common, yeah.
It's pretty easy. You now have the option to either copy the entire course or do select components. I generally do select components even though I'll probably copy the entire course. I just like having the flexibility of having more control over what I bring in versus what I don't. In this part, I'm going to select content and include select individual items to copy, again, just to give myself a little bit more control over the content. And it's also important to also do the external learning tool links. Select individual items. Now we click Continue. Here's all of our LaunchPad content. The reason I did the individual ones is because it gives me the ability here to pick the content that I want to bring in, like so. But I'm just going to select all. Then I'll click Continue. Now we do the exact same thing for the external learning tools. I'll just select all for these as well. Click Continue. And now I would just hit this Finish button. It's going to give us an update on the progress, tell us where we are with it, and we just wait for it to finish. Generally takes a few minutes. Just wait for it. And we're done. Now if we go back to our section 2 and we click on content, all of that content has now been copied in. Remember, this was blank before.
Uh-huh.
So with just a couple of clicks, we've copied the entire course. There's one final step, though. The last thing we need to do is we need to link one of those copies from LaunchPad with this course. Because if I click on any of these links right now, it's going to be a dead link, and I'm going to actually get an error message, like so. Just want you to see what this looks like. See? Error message. That's because we just need to link the course. That's also very easy to do. There's two different ways to do it. You can either do it through a LaunchPad Tools launch on your content area, or you can do it off of your D2L homepage. In this case, I'm just going to do it right here. I'll just click Macmillan Course Tools Launch. I'm going to follow the prompts now. Click Getting Started, Authenticate, Continue, Continue again. And what it's going to do now, it's going to take me a list of different LaunchPad courses that I've already set up. And we'll see all those courses that we were just working with right here. So here's all of the ones we just made. Here's the master course, which we're not going to use. Here's the 2 fall sections that we created. And here's that 8-week section as well. The spring 2016 section is also listed here, but you'll notice that it's grayed out. That's because it's linked with the D2L course that we already copied. Any questions about that?
No, it's fine.
So we just pick the one that we want to link. We'll just take one of our fall sections. We'll just take Monday, Wednesday, Friday one. We click Associate, confirm it, and click OK. Close the confirmation page. And if we go back to content now, you'll notice that the links all work now, right? So we're not going to get an error message now. It's taking us directly to the LaunchPad course, and in particular, it's taking us to the new LaunchPad section. But I don't know if you saw this, you'll notice that the due dates are still reflective of summer term here, or spring term, depending on how you want to look at it. The way you update those, the final step, is we just go back to those Macmillan tools that we were in before, through the Macmillan Course Tools launch, and we click Macmillan Content Refresh. This just kind of resets all those links to make sure they're all checked, which they are. Click Refresh Content Links. Click OK. And now if we go back to our content area, all of the due dates have been updated. And this, what I just did, that applies to any section you're teaching, whether it's an 8-week session, whether it's a 4-week session, whatever it is, you just simply update those due dates in LaunchPad and then copy your courses and link them back together, and all of that just automatically upgrades to your new content for the next semester. You can copy an integrated course in probably 2 minutes, maybe even less.
So what you've done here is to first set up the course in LaunchPad, right? The course that you want, with all the things that all the quizzes and assignments and whatever, and then you go to D2L and you bring that content from LaunchPad into D2L. Is that the process?
That's correct. So what we just did today was kind of a backwards way, because this webinar was really meant to focus on the course copy. But there aren't too many people here, so I'm happy to show you that part of it if you'd like to see how all that works from a course building standpoint now, assuming you don't have any questions about the copy portion.
No, I think the copy is pretty clear. I just don't know talk about how you start the process, I guess, and then the copy process would come into it then after you've actually established these courses, right?
Right, exactly. So yeah, I'll show you all of that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get to LaunchPad. So this course is already integrated with content. So assuming you've done that, you saw how I linked the course with the courses together. We followed that getting started prompt. We saw all our LaunchPad courses. We associated the one that we wanted to bring in. That's the first thing you do. Once you do that, you can navigate to LaunchPad a couple of different ways. You can do it right through the Macmillan tools. You would just click on this link right here that says LaunchPad, and that'll take you to your LaunchPad homepage. In a new tab or window, it's going to automatically log you in with your credentials. You never need to use a username or password when you're integrating into D2L. And there we go. We're taken to the home page. So let's say, so in this case, I've done my course build for the first 4 chapters already. Let's take chapter 5. I recognize this is not the book you're using, but for demo purposes, it should be okay. If I expand the chapter 5 folder, we have a bunch of different multimedia activities in each chapter, such as learning curve activities, video activities, and then a clinical choices activity. None of this necessarily pertains to freshman composition, but
right, no, I understand.
So to assign the content, you hover over it, click the Assign button, set a due date. You can change points and categorize right from here. Any questions?
No.
And then you just simply repeat those steps for any activities that you'd like to assign. So let's take this video activity. We'll also assign that for a due date, categorize it, click Assign. And we'll take this clinical choice, which is not something I actually added from the previous chapters. I'll assign this, the due date. In this case, there isn't a category because I never assigned something like this before. So I'll just click Create a new category. We have the points, click Assign. And then we'll wrap it up with a quiz. And also, so everything that I just assigned, I assigned for a point value, so it'll make a gradebook column, right? Let's say I also wanted my students to read this one section of the ebook, and I wanted to specifically bring this into D2L. I could also assign this with a due date, but leave it at 0 points, so it doesn't create a gradebook column. Any questions about assigning content in LaunchPad?
No, that's pretty clear.
So now I just close LaunchPad again and to get taken back to D2L. If I go to my D2L content area, I can go to any area of D2L where you're adding assignments. In this case, I just made a weekly assignments folder and I created chapter modules. So I'll just go there, and at the bottom of D2L, there's the Add a Submodule option. Here, let me collapse this so you can see that better. Right down here, it says Add a Submodule.
Okay.
Just call it Chapter 5, like that.
Could you tell me though? Could you tell me one thing? How does D2L know about LaunchPad? You know, I see that there's a folder here for LaunchPad at the bottom, but how do you get D2L to know about LaunchPad in the first place?
Oh, okay. Well, I made this folder. So this D2L that I'm working in already is communicating with LaunchPad. The way that works is we would talk to your D2L administrator. I'm assuming you have that contact information. If this is something you're interested in, you just let us know who your D2L administrator is. We'll have our engineer email your admin, copy you on the email, and let them know that you're interested in doing this. And we'll meet with them and you don't even have to be involved in this portion. We'll just let them know that you're interested, and we'll usually copy you just so they know that we're not lying to them about it.
Yep. Right,
then we'll work with them. It usually takes 20 to 30 minutes on a WebEx like what we're doing right now. We work with them, we set it up, they do a little test to make sure everything's working. Then from there, you would work with someone like me where I would help you get it so your LaunchPad course is talking to your D2L course. They simply add a couple of tools to it. It's a very seamless process from there.
Okay, so that's, there's no, my D2L people would have no kind of problem with that? I mean, you know, you do it all the time with
We do,
the
yeah.
D2L?
We do this across the country. And it's a free service, too. There's no extra charge for it. There's no strings attached. It's something we're happy to do. Because once we do it for you, per se, your whole school can do it.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know how the first kind of integration protocols work. So, so I have to contact my D2L people and tell them that I want to integrate the Macmillan LaunchPad, and then I would give them your number or your email or something, or what?
If it's easier for you, you could just let us know who that is, and we'll contact them for you.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That way,
but
you
I should talk to them, and then I should tell you who they are, and then you can contact them. Okay.
Yeah, if you just find out who it is that we would need to talk to, you can send me that contact information, and I can follow up with you after, and with my contact information, just shoot me an email with who that is. We'll take care of the rest.
Okay, sounds good.
Now, now let's talk about how we bring in the content from Chapter 5 that we just assigned into D2L, because it's not there yet. As you see, this Chapter 5 module is empty. Up here on the top right, it says Course Administration. It might say Edit Course or Course Edit in your version of D2L, depending on the version you're using. We get taken to this page, and then there's an option here that says Site Resources. Then there's an option that says Course Builder. Just click on Course Builder. Wait for this page to load. In mine, it's going a little slow, but it'll load in like 30 seconds. Once that loads, you'll see a whole bunch of different icons available to you. And the one that you want to look for is the red Macmillan flag logo. Anything with Macmillan has these red flag icons. You can see that there's a couple of them up here. But here's the one I was talking about.
Okay.
We can expand our weekly assignments modules. Here's our Chapter 5 module that we just created. I'm just going to drag this icon right into the Chapter 5, like so. Now we see a list of the LaunchPad table of contents, very similar to what you actually see in the LaunchPad site proper. Now the one difference is anything that you've assigned in LaunchPad, you can actually get right from this assignments folder at the very top. It just populates anything that you've assigned for a due date up here. You can still get it in the Chapter 5 folder as well, but it's a little harder to find. You need to click on the I buttons to see what you've assigned, like so. See how it says here it's been assigned for 5 points?
Okay.
But if you go up here to the assignments folder and expand this, I find that it's a little easier to pick this stuff. You'll notice that anything that I've already added to D2L is in black, and I can't select it again. But all of the gray content is from Chapter 5, and it's content that I just assigned. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. So I'm just going to check the gray pieces of content. This is that ebook content that I brought in. You'll see it's assigned, but not for any points. So we selected 6 pieces of content. We're going to click Deploy Selected Content. Close the confirmation page. Go back to our content area. And now all of those activities are in week 5.
Cool.
You can drag them around and reorder them. You can also move them to other modules if you wanted to. See how I'm doing that?
Right. Yeah.
So it's very flexible in what you do with this content once it's in your D2L course. And also, all of this will sync with the gradebook. So I'll show you that. Let me just do a quick content refresh.
So what happens to D2L's gradebook? And you don't use that?
Oh, no, you still do. You still use the D2L gradebook. So everything that we're doing reports to the D2L gradebook, as you can see.
Okay, so there's not a LaunchPad gradebook.
There is. This D2L gradebook actually feeds from the LaunchPad gradebook. So, but you only want to use the LaunchPad gradebook for your due dates and points and categories. Because once, But from there, what kind of, do you do any gradebook manipulation, such as weighted categories or dropping lowest scores or anything like that?
Not really. It's pretty basic.
Yeah. Well, in that case, you could just simply have it like this. You just have your different categories that you would have set. It'll group them however you'd like. If you want all of your LaunchPad content in one LaunchPad category, you can do that as well. It's very flexible in that regard. And of course, from here, if you wanted to, you could do things like drop the lowest score, drop the two lowest scores if you wanted to, and you do all of that portion in D2L itself.
Okay.
If you're doing weighted percentages, you also would do that from here, where all these quizzes are 30% of the grade or 10% of the grade, and so on. That's really everything I had to show.
Okay.
Do you have any additional questions?
Well, it's just a matter for me of getting in and playing around with it, I suppose, and I'll probably have questions after that.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn off the recorder real quick, and then we can continue.